Hey, if you want big open sounding headphones without selling a kidney, right? The Fosi Audio i5 might just be the surprise guest at the party. It's a full-size planar headphones with a 97 millimeter driver. You get these nice walnut accents. And I think the aim is to give more expensive headphones a real run for their money because Fosi is a high value product company. But I'm going to tell you what it sounds like, what it needs to really shine, and how it compares to something much pricier. For example, the HIFIMAN HE1000. So stick around because I think you're going to be a little surprised. Hey everyone, I'm Bruce with Desktop Hi-Fi. Now, quick disclosure. These headphones were sent to me for review on loan, and as always, honest opinions only on this channel. If you like deep dives into gear, clear real-world talk, maybe a bad joke or two, well, subscribe, hit that bell, and let's go. You know, the Fosi i5 is an open back planar, as I said, magnetic headphone, got a 97 millimeter diaphragm, ultra thin, 2 micromillimeter drivers. Anyway, for the membrane, N50 magnets and a stated sensitivity of about 98 dB, and nominal impedance around 28 ohms. So its build is easy-ish to drive a pair of planars, for example. But Fosi recommends feeding it with some real power to make it sing. Think of a decent desktop amp or DAC amp. Sells for roughly $550 on the Fosi site, and also I have a link for more information down below. Now, getting it out of the box, you know, you're getting a solid feeling pair of cans. You're getting the walnut accents, you're getting a metal yokes, plush ear pads. It looks premium for the money. This thing is a little bit beefier on the weight side, around 500 to 550 grams. But so a long session might require, you know, maybe it was a tiny headband adjustment or something, but overall, it's definitely made to look more than just a budget headphone. The fit is roomy, the pads are comfortable. I think for most people, though, if you have a smaller head, you might feel the weight after a few hours. If you wear glasses like I do, well, you got to give yourself a little trial time to listen first. Planars can sit a bit firmer than, say, dynamic headphones. For listening, I ran the i5 off a few sources. A solid desktop streamer, which is the WIM Pro Plus, into a SMSL D0400 DAC headphone amp. Plus, I also used a portable DAC for portability testing as well. And I listened to rock, electronics, classical, all kinds of songs. And I tell you, I could hear some difference. The i5's first impression is one of openness, right? Soundstage feels wide. It feels airy for headphones in this price range anyway. Bass is present, generally tight. Not the biggest slam you'll ever hear, but enough to keep things musical. Mids have a clear forwardness to them, right? Makes vocals pretty engaging for singers like Norah Jones, James Taylor, and the lot. And it just sits nicely in that mix. Trebles extended, detailed, but not being painfully bright most of the time. It shows texture and air, especially on acoustic guitars, cymbals. Imaging is pretty good for the price. You can pick out instruments across the stage. In short, it's engaging, transparent, the presentation that invites you to listen. Tracks I used, Norah Jones, Steely Dan, a few modern electronic tracks to check bass control. Although the spec sheet says it's not super hard to drive, the i5 really comes alive when you give it a little juice, a little current. You know, a dedicated headphone amp that can deliver a couple hundred milliwatts, say into 32 ohms, would unlock better dynamics and slam. So if you're just going to plug it into a phone, you'll hear good sound. But if you want the full experience, you want to pair it with a decent amp. Fosi themselves recommend solid, powerful DAC amplifier for best results. Now, I have many headphones in the office, and I grabbed a pair of the HE1000s because, hey, this is in a different league price-wise. I think, what, $1,400 plus? The HE1000 can run into the thousands depending on where you look. So let's just be honest here. You're paying for refinements. The HE1000, for example, typically offers slightly larger, more holographic sound. Okay, the soundstage is a little bit bigger, silkier treble, maybe extremely low extortion. It's more reference and more revealing source and amp. Well, it's just more for revealing, differences in amps and so forth. Where the i5, in contrast, gives you similar planar character, fast, even response, airy stage, but with a touch more excitement and at a fraction of the cost. Think of the HE1000 as a tuxedo, right? Where the i5s is more like a nice blazer. Both look great, but one costs a lot more. Now, the specs show the HE1000's frequency range and weight headroom differences. They're both planars, but the HE1000 is tuned for ultimate refinement. Look, buy the i5, right? Buy these if you want big, open, planar sound for desktop listening. You want nicer wood metal styling, and you don't want to spend flagship money. It's for listeners who want excitement, clarity, to value. Buy the HE1000s if you're chasing the last bit of resolution, the smoothness, treble, and reference level presentation, and if your wallet allows it. Let's talk about a few of the pros and cons. Pros, it's a great value with a wide stage, clear mids, nice build and finish, good details for the price. Cons, a little heavy after long sessions, and it needs a proper amp really show the best performance. And it's not really quite as refined as, say, a flagship like the HE1000, but it's darn close and way less money. So if you're building a desktop hi-fi setup and you want planar that gives a feeling of openness, gives you a detail without massive price tag, then the Fosi i5 is absolutely worth auditioning, especially if you pair it with a decent amp. Look, it won't replace the HE1000 for someone chasing the absolute reference level sound performance, but it gets you close enough in many musical ways for a lot less money. And isn't it really all about the music? So if you like a full measurements, deep dive, or shootout between the i5 and other mid-range planar, tell me in the comments down below. Hit like if this helped. Subscribe for more for desktop hi-fi reviews, and I'll see you in the next one, probably with coffee and more headphones. I'll see you later. Take care, everybody.